Welcome to today's episode of The Art of Feeling Better, the podcast where we move from surviving to thriving. And if you are feeling constantly exhausted, then this one is definitely for you, because I'm going to talk a little bit about my particular experience with burnout. Everyone's is very different. And I wanted to do this one because I've noticed recently, because I've been doing a lot of work specifically around the topic of burnout, and especially around women and burnout. And since I've been on this little side quest, it has become very apparent to me that we kind of assume that burnout in women is exclusively to very high achieving executive business women in a very kind of small niche category when we think about the word burnout. But the more women I'm talking to, and I mean across the board, from my social media, people inboxing me, emails that I'm getting, just people I know, people I'm working with when I do some of my in-person sessions, are all saying the same thing, and they're all talking about the same symptoms. So I think the conversation, and this is why I'm doing this one, needs to be about broadening out and opening up the conversation to understand that actually it's like an epidemic. It's not, nobody's exempt from this. Nobody escapes. And it seems to be that we have this misconception. By the way, do you like my mug? It's very relevant for me right now. But we have this misconception that these kind of things are reserved for a certain few people in a very specific demographic. And then if you are experiencing some of these symptoms, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute, you think, well, that can't be me. That's obviously not me. I'm just making a big deal out of nothing. I just need to stop complaining. I'm just being lazy. Everybody else seems to be fine. And we fail to realize that actually what it is very serious. It's a really, really serious thing that's happening to your nervous system. And it has a name. And more importantly than that, because it has a name, it has a path to follow, and there is some science and some knowledge and some wisdom and some slow steps to recovery that will really, really help you, honestly help you move from absolutely just surviving every day to completely thriving and living a completely different life. Because I'm doing it. I'm doing the same thing. I've completely changed my life around, and I would love to help others do the same, right? So we can only do that by having the conversations and understanding what's going on. And if you are anything like me, you will be really good at masking and hiding the symptoms, so you don't actually ask for help and get to the point where you understand that this is what it is. And B, if you do, and this is, again, I talk about this quite a lot across episodes. I mean, I have the greatest respect for the medical profession, but I think especially in the UK, the NHS, we are very lacking. GPs don't have the knowledge. They don't have any training in mental health, don't have the knowledge. It's very symptomatic. If that's a symptom, let's open the DSM. That's the prescription. So I think because we put a lot of our trust and our faith in that system, and we're not quite shifted over yet to this functional and lifestyle medicine approach that's so crucial. Lots and lots of medics are, lots of professionals are, but not enough. So then you do go and you do ask for help, and you are misdiagnosed, or you are given a prescription for antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication, or you whack straight on HRT, which might be the reason, it might be great, but it might not be, right? Or you're told, yeah, you're just a bit tired, go and have a rest. Go and have a holiday, need a break. You know, there's a lot that can be really misconstrued and misdiagnosed, and then you get completely the wrong plan. You end up feeling even more deflated and even more like a failure, because nobody really can tell you exactly what's happening to you. So you feel like you're just being a bit of a burden. You're just not strong enough. You're being lazy, you're being weak, or you're failing at something. And that, ironically, perpetuates the cycle that you're in, because then you try to push through harder. You end up trying to overachieve more, particularly as women. We have this overachieving, people-pleasing, societal role, and this misconception that I talk about quite a lot that needs to change, right? So, I, for a long time, believed that the measure of success was how much pain I could endure and keep going. That seems like completely insane to me now when I look back, but I can remember the thoughts and the feelings attached to that at the time. Nobody could have talked me out of that. People tried to, my family and friends were like, this is superhuman. You shouldn't be able to do this. And that was like, wow, I'm winning a badge. I'm superhuman. Look at me. I'm actually doing it. I mean, most people can't do this. And look at me. I must be really great, and I must be successful, and I must be a great mom and a really good businesswoman. And I must be doing things that champion women's rights, and, you know, putting a flag in the ground for how women could be in the future. And I'm like innovating a load of bullshit, showing my kids how not to behave, and trying to be a role model I really wanted to be, in the most toxic way, because my old wounds hadn't been tended to, and I was operating in this pattern from my own individual stuff, but also society stuff, generational stuff, lots of stories about women and women's roles, and all kinds of different things were at play there. And it wasn't until, this is the hard bit, it wasn't until I actually gave myself permission, because plot twist, spoiler alert, there is nobody else that's going to give you permission. You have to give yourself permission to hit pause, to stop, to reflect. And I don't just mean like sit down for a cup of tea for a minute. That's one of the first steps, but I mean a proper rest. And unfortunately, it was my body that made me do that. Eventually, my body just completely collapsed and I was hospitalized. It actually happened twice. First time, obviously, I didn't listen because I know everything and I know better. It was an inconvenience and I had to just quickly get back on the horse before anyone noticed. But the second time, I thought, let me think. The common denominator here is me. I think I may be the problem. And so began a lot of inner work, shadow work, inner child healing, all kinds of different things that I talk about quite freely and openly in my book. So I'll link that as well in the description. And it takes time, right? Especially if you've been in this fight or flight hustle mode and your nervous system has been absolutely brutalized for many, many years. Then you think about the time it took to program that in. It takes a little while to be able to get your recovery in place. And I can remember the first time I started on that path, when I realized the work that I had to do. And I'm helping so many women through this, and I can sympathize so much and empathize, because I just remember it really strongly, and I know how difficult it is, because I'd spent so long in this highly adrenalized state, and I'd created this monster where I had all these roles and these labels, and I was convinced that the world was going to end if I didn't do all these things, and didn't answer my messages at 3 o'clock in the morning because somebody had messaged me, so I have to reply to them immediately, right? Nope. But I was in that space. And then when I was trying to extract myself from it, the first step was to sit and breathe and give myself permission to think of rest as part of my role, and introduce that concept to my life as an important factor. And that looks different for everybody, I think, when you're on that process. But for me, it felt almost impossible, because I would understand the concept in my mind and I would think, yeah, I know, I have to, because this is serious health stuff now and I want to be here for my kids. So I was really battling with myself, because I knew it was serious and important, and I knew I was teaching my kids some really bad things as well. But at the same time, the body's really powerful, and it wanted me to do something else because it believed it was safe to keep achieving and keep doing. And, so I was really at war with myself, and I sat down. So my brain would say, yes, you have to do this. It's really important. And then my body would immediately go, get up, there's things on the list, just move. And I would be tapping, and I tried fidget toys, and I couldn't even I was at the point where I couldn't even watch telly to distract myself, right? there was too many things in my mind, and I felt too guilty for resting, and there was just too much to do. Or I believed there was too much to do. It was more important than enjoying the present moment. Completely different to how I think of things now. But it was really difficult. I did find that books helped for a while, and they still do. Books are my solace, really, because if I can find a good book, especially a good series, and if you are a bookworm like me, you'll know what it's like when you get a series that you can't put down. That was medicine for me, as was music, and my family, my husband and my kids. They're all medicine. But books, I could sit and I could feel my nervous system slowing, because I would really get engrossed, and my brain was kept busy with reading. And if my brain was kept busy, then this little subconscious voice was quiet for a little bit, and it wasn't going, get up and do something. You're being lazy. Everybody needs you. So that worked. But I just remember how hard it was, how absolutely, really, really difficult. But then after a while, it's like anything when you're training, you have to start with small steps, and it's consistency, isn't it? It's consistency that does it. And eventually I managed to kind of get into a space where I'd started the little seeds of where I'm at now, and I'm still on my journey, and I still have a way to go. I still have that guilt. Now, very recently, I'm sitting and I'm kind of just resting my body and filling up my tank. And I feel like there's kind of glances within the family unit, and why am I tidying up and you're not doing it? Like it's my role, but I have to really check myself that this is an old pattern. It's not just your role, it's everybody's responsibility. And you've done this, so somebody else can do this, and that kind of stuff, because I automatically think, the people pleaser in me wants to jump to attention, but I have a little conversation with her now, right? She's not in control anymore. But it's difficult, really difficult. So the process has been a long one. It's been really valuable. Every step of the way has been really valuable. And I now can be really grateful, because I know I've been extracting lessons every step of the way, and every single thing has either taught me to go back and rethink something, or it's taught me, yes, your body really responds well to this. That's the direction to keep going in. I think of them as green lights, like Matthew McConaughey says it, green lights and red lights. I've always said that. Green lights and red lights, your body will tell you if something's a green light, do more of it. Something's a red light, you need to pause and consider. Not just stop, not just not do it, because I think what happens is if you get a red light and your body says no, you still got to diagnose and discern in your own body what's going on, because it could be an old pattern telling you, no, don't go out in public because people might laugh at you. That's a false red flag, because actually you could miss out on something amazing and beautiful because of an old pattern that's saying no. But a true red flag, if your body tells you, I don't like this doesn't feel good to me, I don't think I should be doing this, and you then stop, take it as a red light, pause, stop at the red light, pause, think, why am I feeling this? You can quite easily discern, this is just because of a belief that actually doesn't serve me anymore. I'm going to push through and I'm going to find a way to support myself through this. Or, yes, I shouldn't be doing this because it's another people-pleasing thing, or it's another silly thing that's going to take me away from my family, my energy, my health. Thank you, red light. I was about to make a false move then. So it is kind of about discernment, I think. So there's something that I've been writing at the moment, because I've been doing lots of blog posts, and you'll probably see on my socials, I've been doing lots of little mini reels and little, just little posts to help support other women that are experiencing this, to know that you're not on your own, and to give some tips and some help. And I've created a burnout recovery guide that I've put out there now, just some baby steps towards the bigger stuff. I mean, I do some deep dive stuff, right? In Mojo School, I've got a specific course on burnout recovery. I've got a witch wound course, which I love, because it's my authentic voice around women and the voices and the stories that we're told generationally that keep us trapped and keep us stuck. That's a huge, deep piece of shadow work. It's beautiful, and it's, but if you're in burnout, you're probably not wanting to do anything deep, it's overwhelming, and it's difficult to actually get out of that loop. So something gentle is the way to start. So a little PDF, like ebook recovery guide with some actual steps, some actual knowledge, what I wish I'd had, but nobody had done. So when I got better, I created it myself. That's out there. There's a whole little strategy around it, but I've been talking a lot and finding the words to kind of describe these things. And one of the things that I say is that when I look back, my body was whispering for a long time before it started screaming. So if you're at the point where your body's whispering to you, it might even be talking to you quite loudly and saying, excuse me. Symptoms that come up, constant fatigue, headaches, migraines was a huge one for me. How I pushed through and didn't actually see it for what it was is beyond me. You might get a lump in your throat. You might be kind of struggling because you're swallowing your voice, and you're getting throat problems and tonsillitis and all kinds of awful things there. Chronic pain, all kinds of things will be kind of starting to make their way forward. And if you ignore them like I did, eventually your body will scream and it will just collapse. So I guess the message is, there's no point in ignoring them, because it is going to get you. At some point, your body will say, I've had enough now, you're not listening to me, so I'll do it for you. And it's my greatest wish for other women not to experience that, and to just catch it before you get to that point. So this is my message now. If you're starting to feel these things, you wake up and you're more tired than you went to bed, even though you have actually slept. Or maybe you haven't slept and the insomnia is keeping you awake because there's too many racing thoughts. There's lots and lots of things. Circling back to what I was saying at the beginning about the assumption that it's just high achieving business women, entrepreneurs, that demographic. I mean, it is, but completely need to dispel the myth that that's what burnout is for, and it's not a workplace phenomenon. I know that the medical professionals, it's categorized as a workplace thing, and it most certainly is. Most people I speak to actually, who aren't living their best life, creating and doing what they were born to do and running their own businesses and are in jobs and roles that they absolutely love. I'd say 95% of people aren't, and they're burning out because the pressures and the demands are so much, the pay is crap, the extra pressures at home are getting too much. So everybody's in this burnout space, right? But you've also got caregiver burnout. You've got the emotional burnout of being a parent. You might be looking after older relatives, parents, being everybody else's emotional support. If you're the one like I was that everybody goes to because you're strong, right? It's actually called The Curse of the Strong, which is actually worth reading. And there's a good analogy in there about a bath, with the overflow. And if you keep on adding more and more and more, the overflow can't handle the amount of emotional and mental fatigue and things and jobs that you're putting in there. The overflow stops working and eventually the whole bath just... That's what happened to me. So, but you have all this invisible mental load. This is specific to women, right? Men have a very different kind of burnout, but this is specifically about women. And we have this invisible load that's just totally underrated, underrepresented, not spoken about, not appreciated, not respected, and not validated, right? It's real, it's there. Careers becoming increasingly demanding, the gender pay gap and the effect on nervous system safety there, the perfectionism, the people pleasing, all those nervous system responses that we're not taught about that are probably running the show in the background, feeling guilty, trying to keep it all together and feeling like a failure when you can't. So many things. So my message, I guess, is about your nervous system and trying to understand what this means to you and how to navigate it, because pushing through does not work. Right, I'm going to say that again. Pushing through does not work. You cannot outrun burnout. It just makes the dramatic exit quicker when you hit the deck, right? The more you push, the quicker you get to that finish line. It's not very pleasant. So talking about the nervous system and ways to regulate that, right? Especially when you're under chronic stress that doesn't go. Stress is great, right? Your challenge response is great. If you have a deadline coming up or something that you're going to be doing or performing, it keeps you in that peak performance mode, but it shouldn't be constant and chronic. You should have things that you then rest after, and maybe there's something else that comes up next year. That's normal. Otherwise you don't live life at all. You just stay, stuck. It's when it's chronic stress overload on your body. All of those lovely hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, that are there to help you in small doses, running around your system 24/7. It is an absolute recipe for disaster. And being in survival mode for that long, which is, we're not meant to be. We're meant to be in survival mode when there's a direct threat. Really quickly, I talk about this so much in Mojo School. We're meant to switch back off, right? To rest and digest. That's what humans were designed to do. We're just trying to override the program, and you can't do that, right? It just doesn't work. And then you end up with things like brain fog. You don't even know what you were going to say. You don't know why you walked into the room you walked into. And that is amplified in perimenopause. High five to all the ladies who are menopausal. Nobody told you about that little treat, did they? Puberty's feral older sister that just sneaks up. Is it like a secret level that we're not allowed to discuss, like Fight Club or layer cake? Like nobody mentions it ever, and then all of a sudden you are like, this is horrendous. I don't know what's happening. And you literally have just an incredible amount of symptoms compounded on the top of your steady slide into burnout if you haven't been doing the work before you hit that point. It's tough, right? But there's a way forward. There's a way forward, and there's help and there's support out there, and I really want you to have it. Sleep won't fix it because you have to be able to regulate your nervous system. You are not going to be getting into that slow wave, deep repair sleep if you don't do the work. And that's why you can have 10 hours of sleep and feel worse when you wake up, because you are stuck in that REM sleep. You're stuck in like very shallow sleep where your brain is processing and ticking over like a stuck Rolodex. And you don't get to cycle through the proper sleep patterns where your cells get swept out and your fuel tank gets filled up. Okay, so there's a lot of work again in some of my courses around that and sleep hygiene and ways to help with that. But it's so important to look at, right? So important. Myths like you just need a holiday. Doesn't work. You might feel great for a little bit, but the pattern doesn't change. You might feel a bit rested, and it will help. Don't get me wrong, but then half the time it takes so long to switch off when you go away that you only just start to rest. It's time to come home, and you've got the stress of the airport and all the rest of it that kicks you back into fight or flight. Then when you're home, you might think, okay, yeah, I had a holiday, but the conditions that led you to be burned out in the first place are still there. So it doesn't take very long for you to be exactly where you started from. So please hear me when I say that a little holiday, little rest is not going to be the fix-it that you think you might need. If you're just generally stressed and there's been a lot going on, a holiday is brilliant. A break is brilliant. It resets you. If, like most people I speak to at the moment, especially most women, if you are in burnout and your nervous system has been so dysregulated for a long, long time, a holiday is not going to fix it. I can promise you that. A holiday is part of the process, part of the recipe that will help, but you have to be able to prioritize safety in your body. You have to be able to set better boundaries. You have to plan proper and adequate rest into your daily life, not just a holiday when it all gets a bit too much. You have to look at reclaiming your identity and looking at all of the roles, the responsibilities, the expectations that are placed on you. You have to look at what brings you joy. Is there anything in your life that you actually have time for that brings you joy? Because this counteracts some of the stress hormones, right? You have to have joy in your life. Self-compassion, which most women don't have any. We're really compassionate towards everybody else except ourselves. And that, again, is a skill that you have to cultivate and you have to practice. So it's about creating this sort of sustainable life, right? Rather than one that you think, my God, I'm winning at this. This shouldn't be possible. Oh my God, check me out. I'm winning a badge, because it isn't sustainable. And I can tell you that from lived experience. When you start to make the steps and take the little steps, things will slot into place as long as you're consistent and you're kind to yourself. And if you, I still do it now, if you go off on one and the old person comes back in and you do something daft and you're like, oh, wish I hadn't done that now because I'm feeling burnt out. Just be kind to yourself then as well, and know that as long as you check it early enough and it doesn't land you in hospital, it's part of the learning process, isn't it? Like, oh, I think I went back into a bit of a cycle then, right? What did I learn from this one? And what will I do different next time? And what is another strategy that I can put into place to make sure I don't trip up and go back again? Every day is a classroom, my friend. As long as we take the learning and as long as we extract all that beautiful wisdom. So yeah, I just wanted to leave you with a few of those things. So if you are really struggling at the moment and if today's hard and if you're not sure what to do next, there is a way. There is help. There is support. I would love to support you. I've got loads of resources and I'll link them in the description for you. But you got this. You can do this. And the most important thing is not going back to the life that you once had that caused the burnout in the first place. And that's sometimes a really scary thing. And I had to do that. I had to completely extract myself. And I had to do it twice. I had to extract myself from my 25-year career when I realized what was going on and I'd been hospitalized. And then, a few years later, I had to extract myself again when I was already in the coaching space and the mental health space. And I kind of switched one kind of pattern for another, but it was like loosely masked. And I thought, hang on a minute, this feels familiar. But I was listening to my body by then. And I realized I was back into a loop, but I thought it was different because I was in a different career. I'd solved that problem, got out of the old one. But I still hadn't done deep enough work for my behaviors to shift. So I'd done half the work, I changed the environment, but my inner self and my behaviors were the same. So I still created the same, or I was starting to create the same monster again until I realized that that's what was happening. And yeah, did the really deep inner work. And it's the best thing I've ever done. Life is great. I'm young enough to enjoy life now. Still, I know I've not let it get for too long that I'm now kind of at the end of my life and can't do anything about it. Got my 2 beautiful grandchildren now. And I'm trying to support my kids, who I think I probably taught some questionable lessons to by them watching what I do and not what I say. So I'm trying to support them now to understand actually what was happening when you were kids. Some of it was great. And I'm really proud of myself for raising these kids so brilliantly. They're amazing humans. We're trying to have these conversations now that some of it was probably not a great thing for you to learn growing up. And I don't want you to fall into those patterns and watch me undo it now and try and undo it and kind of follow that rather than the old stuff. That's my wish. That's my plan. But, just chilling with my veggies and chickens. I'm getting chicken soup, some rescue chickens. So just being in my garden and the good life, being as sustainable as I can, breathing, experiencing what peace and joy actually feels like without feeling guilty. Sitting and reading a lovely book, or just sitting and resting and having a cup of tea because that's what my body needs and that's what I deserve at the time. These are alien concepts for me 10 years ago. But it's a lovely place to be. It's a beautiful place to be, and there's no guilt attached anymore. I know that's, I'm a human being and just as deserving as the compassion that I give to everybody else. So, yeah, it's been quite a ride, my friends. I'm going to be having some great conversations soon with some guests around this topic, so watch out for those episodes. But I just wanted a little musing this morning just to give some context, some deeper context and some deeper thoughts around this big topic that I'm covering right now, because I know it affects so many of you. And I know that some of you listening there, a lot of you listening there, are going to be thinking, oh, she's talking to me. So if that is you, and you are really struggling, take some of the resources, pop loads of links in, and just say this for when you might need it again, so that you know that it's not just you, you're not on your own, nothing wrong with you, you're not failing, you have just been carrying far too much for far too long, and you need to put it down and reassess what's going on in the background and what you need to do to change things day to day. And I can help you with that. So please get in touch, let me know, give me a comment. Tell me what you're going through in this area at the moment, or what your perspective is, what your thoughts are around this topic. And I'm going to go and get back to making my sourdough bread now, which is one of my other self-care activities. And then I'm going to sit and chill for a bit. Done a lot of creating this morning, feeling really good, and I want to stay that way. So I will leave you with that thought for now. And I hope that you can take a little bit of time for yourself today, have a little rest. I'm sending you lots of love and good vibes from over here in Wales. Bye for now.